What's up, y'all? It's JOAT. Welcome back to a new video. Halcyon Sound Volume 1. So we all know how Oolacile loves his future rhythm, and in his spare time he decided to create a whole label that focuses on that specific genre, Halcyon. It's brand new, no prior releases to this comp here. I know Utah dropped on Wednesday since I listened to half of it on that day it dropped. And also Voltra's track, Instance, dropped soon after, but I don't remember exactly when, probably Thursday or Friday. But yeah, I at least heard of all the artists featured here over all 8 tracks, and I knew for sure that they would be delivering with some quality melodic rhythm. Quick pointers about all the tracks here. The melodies and other musical notation is staggeringly pretty, and of course the drops follow suit since it's melodic rhythm. Yeah, let's just get into the review, starting with Utah by Sudden Death. As soon as this dropped Wednesday, I decided to give the first drop a listen because I didn't feel like waiting that long to listen to the whole song. And to be honest, it completely blew me away. It starts off with a tropical, fruity melody and an ever so subtle clap complementing it, followed by vocals from the man himself that sound kind of 2000s emo-ish, I guess, but are actually really good. You really feel the forlorn emotion in them. And the drop, I just listened to it probably over 50 times now. You hear hints of typical Sudden Death in there. With the lasery synths, even the tone of those opening chords sounds Danny-like. But everything else here, all the notes and sounds in the mix are just so goddamn different. And this shit left me at a loss for words after listening to it.
Like glass and blood spills from both me and from you. And you drive me to hell.
Wait for the art. Oh, fuck me, bro. It's just too good. I have to say the second drop in comparison to the first isn't all that mind-blowing, since the drop only slightly detours with added note progressions, but the variation is there, and I also feel like it's my fault since I listened to that first drop so many times over, and basically just set a near impossible standard in my head for that drop. It's so graceful. That melody is just so graceful. It's fucking amazing. After saying all that, this track is still up there for me when it comes to my favorite Sudden Death songs, alongside Terrible and Junk World. Next up is Voltra with Instance. This tune is jumpier and slightly more all over the place than Voltra's production usually is. Already with the intro, these hyperactive arps. The drop reminds me so much of Asara at first, slightly more metallic, and those sustains that follow are mad.
Your instance is ready.
The double drop here is more focused, with those beepy blippy noises sort of blurring into one another. Second drop is just as glossy and futuristic, but simpler, rapid, and still following that melodic progression. also have to mention Voltra's genius layering all throughout. Another amazing song to add to her discography. There's also so much to learn from her production, I feel like. Alright, track 3, Dreams, in parentheses Data, is from the man himself, Oolacile. Intro almost doing too much. He could have left out some sounds and it still would have hit, but not complaining whatsoever. Drop is bouncy, lively, with a beautiful progression, and all of it meshes together so well. On Infinity, for example, the track took this sudden melodic detour at one point that kind of ruined the song for me, but that's not at all the case here. He keeps it catchy while sticking to a single emotional theme.
Data.
The main sounds here are kind of sluggish, but in a good way, and I'm feeling a sort of hopelessness to the delivery. It's also pretty wild how the song just ends after the last drop. Okay, heading to track 4, Leotrix with Emo Boy 303, Side. Surprisingly hypnotizing intro for how harsh the sounds are, especially that vocal. The drop sounds aren't exactly pleasant on the ear, but again, I can appreciate the note progression, the layering, and I guess that type of grainy sound is intentional and part of the overall aesthetic. It's like that bass underneath is bit crushed or some shit, but the tune is pretty and leaves you in your feels for the most part. The second drop features even more high-pitched ringing notes, but all for the variation, right? This part reminds me of some Apple ringtone. Next track, Akeos and i7 with Angel Portal, and this is the Akeos version. Didn't remember much of that snippet when I listened to this tune in full, but this is what I'd expect on an Akeos and i7 collab. It's kind of vocoded sounding while still sinewy and gritty underneath. Of course, this is the Akeos version, but I still hear traces of i7, so. Can't forget to mention the intro work, how the arps are in the background while the bass booms, being replaced by an 808 in the break and the outro. By far not Akeos or i7's best work in my opinion, but good. Unique sound design. Love the filtering done on those basses as well. Next up is Conic Sections by Phonon. Forgive me for saying this, but the intro alone already somehow reminds me of Polyrhythm because of the pads and the overlaying melody, but I'm not going to compare it any further because I'd be annoyed as fuck if people compared my music to the tune everybody knows me for, so. The drop has interesting layers to it, again, an overlaying melody with other tonal sounds up top over a solid deep bass line.
Oh.
With this double drop, Phonon introduces some neuro-y basses into the mix, reminding me of some 2013-2014 dubstep, but of course with that futuristic vibe to it. The third and final drop is a variation of the first, keeping you locked in until the song ends. Okay, heading into the second to last song already, Cripplingg with Colors. Crippling's typical fluty sound design on display like on Bleepware, Steady flow, maybe would have hoped for some contrast in the back or potentially in the front to help keep the main ideas interesting. Oh, and also like on Bleepware, he filters out the drop sounds and lets them go off in the back. Yeah, seeing lots of similarity here with both tracks. Second drop adds more notes. The track's pretty cool. I still prefer Bleepware over this, as obnoxious as it might sound. Yeah, I feel like Cripplingg played it too safe with this track for it to really be left field for him. The pitch switch up was nice. Final track here, BVSSIC or Basic, I'm not sure, with Disgust. This is the producer I'm most unfamiliar with on this compilation, but I have heard a couple songs of his. Eclipse is hard as fuck. Warm feel to the intro and the vocals, and this drop is really, really powerful. Layered like crazy and loving the flows. This part is heavy. Really good dynamic with the squelchy darker sounds and those melodic notes in between, and also that heaviness that comes after. This song is almost too dark for this compilation, but it adds that sinister tone to the project as a whole before it ends, you know. But I'm not done here, nor is BVSSIC Basic. He comes in with a low-key house part before ending this track on a melancholy note. This tune is definitely the most interesting on the compilation, and I'd love to hear more from, I'm gonna go with BVSSIC. So there y'all have it. Overall, a crazy debut from Halcyon. Can't wait to see what Oolacile is planning next for this label. I think he posted a mix a day or two ago, which may even preview some new music that's going to be released on this label in the next compilation eventually. But yeah, I really like the aesthetic, the theme to this whole project. And yeah, this has been your boy JOAT. Please do go check out this compilation, link in the description. Out.